about the art of pantomime. Let's get started, shall we? So before we get started, I want to go over a couple of terms that we're going to use later and to kind of give you some vocabulary to work off of. The first one is nonverbal communication. This is communication without the use of spoken language, collectively known as body language. Then we have mime, and this is the art that does not precisely imitate real life. It has life action but gives a illusion of that action. It's a little bit more than real life. Then we have tableau. Tableau is a living picture posed by players. For consistency, this is consistency of an object. That means it remains the same size and shape when you mime it and pantomime it. All right. Let's get started. Alright, first we're going to talk about the origins and evolution of pantomime. Simply put it, pantomime really starts with the cavemen telling the story of a hunt and to give each other information. Cavemen didn't have formal language, and they were nomadic. Cavemen were nomadic, so they would move from place to place. And the best way to communicate and tell stories of things was through pantomime, through the use of their body, the nonverbal communication, since they didn't have language. Pantomime evolves in theater, and then we start having it more popularly used in European opera and ballet. Their big thing is to tell the story without the words. We keep evolving, and then we have silent movies where we are using no words to tell stories. And then we use it now in performance art. There are some famous pantomime and mime artists from the past, and that is like Charlie Chaplin, who's a silent movie star, also known as The Tramp, and Marcel Marceau, a French icon of mime. This is a picture of Marcel Marceau. Marcel Marceau's pantomime or mime was bigger than life. He was more of your traditional mime where he had a white painted face and features sort of painted on exaggeratedly, and his movements were big and over the top so that you kind of was a show more than anything. The Charlie Chaplin, who was a silent movie star, he couldn't talk because those silent pictures didn't have voice recording, so he had to be very exaggerated in his movements and expression to really get the audience's attention. Famous pantomime artists or people that use pantomime today would be people like dance groups that use it to tell stories. A lot of hip-hop artists use Pantomime Skills and unique things to tell the story. Then we have the Blue Man Group, who is a group of performers that are in grease paint blue, and they use pantomime to tell their stories using percussion instruments and props and big facial expressions. They are silent performers. Then we have the Cirque du Soleil, which is a French group that uses pantomime and non-speaking to tell stories and music and movement. Then we have the funny tape face. You can see here I have the Jabberwockies, a famous dance crew who uses a lot of pantomime. They don't show their faces, so they use a lot of their physicality and movement to help tell the story when they're dancing. Then I have a ballerina here who uses gesture and movement to help tell a story when she's doing ballet. There also in the middle is a picture of different gestures people use to help tell different stories and show emotions. Then we have, again, the Blue Man Group. This is what they look like. Cirque du Soleil. Even though they have elaborate costumes and music and stuff like that, they still use the art of pantomime to help tell that story. And this is Tape Face, who was on America's Got Talent a couple of years ago. So those were who does pantomime, and now what is pantomime? We're talking about acting without words and acting without props. So mime is that exaggeration that it's not 100% real life, where pantomime is more real life and can be in place of things. The movement used can be expressive, facial expressions, or gestures to help tell something about the character, tells a story, portray an activity without using real objects. All of this is pantomime. Pantomime is used in theater. Obviously, that's why we're talking about it. Common reasons are use of pantomime in theatrical productions, though, is tableaus, which is a living picture posed on stage by performers, by players. It is also used in movement, so you're not talking to help tell stories. Maybe you've got a part of the story that is not 100% told through the talking and dialogue, but it is told through movement. Companies or movements of style that uses pantomime, there's a group called Frantic Assembly out of Scotland and England. You have the Laban efforts and viewpoints. Here are some pictures of Frantic Assembly using movement to help tell their story without using any words like pantomime. There are certain skills you need to have as a pantomime artist. They are to show shape, weight, texture, resistance, expression, and temperature. We're going to go over these. First, we're going to talk about resistance. Resistance is the act or the power of resisting, opposing, or withstanding. Think of it like you have to push a rock up the hill. The resistance of the rock going up the hill, you have to be able to show that, especially if you don't have it. Or, like, for example, on stage you have a door that is supposed to be locked, but in real life it's not locked because it's a stage set door, but you have to show the resistance of you trying to get through it. You use that pantomime skill even though it's not actually there. Then we have texture. So if you look at the picture that I've given you as the background, you notice that it's like yarn or crochet or something. It has a certain texture. The way we interact with things shows us texture. Say the way you pick up a smooth silver goblet is different than if it was made out of plastic or rough plastic. Or if you touch a piece of fur, soft fur, it's different than when you would touch a cactus. And the way you react is a pantomime skill to show that texture. Weight or heaviness or a mass of an object. So on stage we have things that look heavy or actually are heavy or that look light and may not be light. But how we interact with these objects or when we're pretending to pretend lift up giant weights, if we show how heavy something is, that really helps sell it to the audience, and that is a good pantomime skill. All right, then we have temperature. Temperature is how hot or cold something or some places. So if you imagine the way you act when it is winter and you're cold outside is so different than when you act when it's hot outside. So like fanning and stuff like that, you can show the temperature of the place by how you act. You can also show the temperature, like say the way you pick up a hot cup of coffee is different than the way you hold up an iced tea. The way you touch a hot stove looks different than when you're picking up ice off the floor. All right? Then we have a very important one, which is expression. Expression indicates a feeling, spirit, character, etc. on your face. The way you use your face is a great pantomime skill. You see, this woman has lots of different expressions. And you can show emotion. The best way to show emotion is through the expression of your face. Then we have silhouette. So shape, which is silhouette. So you got to show the shape of an object, especially if you don't have it with you. So the way you hold a basketball should remain the same. It should be consistent as every time you pretend pick it up. It shouldn't shrink or get too big. It should stay that same shape, consistency. Now, then you take that basketball, you turn it into a baseball, it's smaller, it's got a different shape. The same thing, it goes down when it's a ping pong ball. Oh, now it's a cup of coffee. The way you hold those things and create that shape through how you hold your hands and your body really can help us as the audience understand more. Well, guys, that's it for pantomime. I hope you learned a little something. Go and practice these skills. Pantomime doing something you do every day, but without the props. And see how you can be consistent when you pantomime. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye, llamas.